I'm excited to introduce you to our new candidate for ministry here at the First Presbyterian Church. We started with a very large pool of candidates and came to a strong consensus for Dr. Baron Mullis. He has had excellent success with his preaching, stewardship, growing his congregations, and managing churches very well.
What I'm most excited about is Baron's enthusiasm for the youth and children. I think he is very committed to helping us understand how we all can bring our unique talents to bear on the future of the church.
Baron has a wealth of talent, which has great potential for our church. He has interpersonal and intellectual abilities, passion for preaching and for engaging others, as well as pragmatism.
What really impresses me about Baron are his questions. I often believe it's the question that enlightens, not the answer. And Baron's questions of us as a committee, his questions of himself when he preaches, I think are good indications of the questions he'll ask us here at First Presbyterian in Philadelphia.
Of course, I had already listened to a number of Baron's fine sermons, but what struck me when I met him was just how genuinely hospitable and welcoming he is. He's a real pleasure to talk to.
The Pastor Nominating Committee is very excited to welcome Reverend Dr. Baron Mullis to Philadelphia and to the First Presbyterian Church.
I'm excited to be joining you here at First Presbyterian Church. One of the things that excites me the most about ministry is the opportunity to engage in intentional creation of community. The Bible tells us that we're made in the image of God, and I was reading recently in a commentary by Walter Brueggemann that says we can't be in the image of God apart from one another. To be in the image of God means to be in community as God self-defines in community. It's been nearly 2 decades since Harvard sociologist Robert Putnam published his breakthrough work, Bowling Alone, where he says that Americans are increasingly further and further apart from each other. The excitement about church is that we have the opportunity to bring not only ourselves together, but to bring the communities around us together as authentic expressions of our faith. I am excited about the history of First Presbyterian Church, both the history that has been written and the history that is yet to be written. This is a congregation that has a rich past, but it also has an exciting future. I'm excited about the inclusivity of this church. I'm excited about the opportunity to engage in serious intellectual discourse. I'm excited about the worship life of this congregation. So my spouse Lester and I have 2 dogs who occupy a great deal of our time. Jack, the older sweetheart, is nearly 13 years old, and Tucker, the younger, is 5.5 years old. Jack is a hound of indeterminate mix, but Tucker is Beagle Basset, and that comes with its own special set of things that you get to do with a dog. We love to cook. Lester's an avid gardener. I am an avid pianist, although not necessarily a good one. I do, however, make up for in volume what I lack in skill. When we first walked in, before I even interviewed with the Pastor Nominating Committee, and Lester saw the stained glass window with a picture of the Iona Abbey in it, he said later, "I knew in that moment this was the church where you were called to go." Because Iona is one of Lester's and my favorite places. We love to travel there. We go every 2 to 3 years simply to renew our spirits. For those who've been, you know, it's a thin space between heaven and earth. Nothing fills us quite like climbing to the top of Dunny or worshiping in the Abbey. We're simply taking in that wonderful salt air. To travel there is one of our great privileges. We love it and hope perhaps to share that experience with you at some point. There are so many different messages we receive in life, but the core message of the church is one of grace. That excites me, and it should excite all of us about ministry. It's the opportunity to share God's grace with one another and to receive it ourselves. One of my favorite things in ministry is to see that aha moment where grace breaks through and the world is seen through different eyes, through the lens of faith, through the lens of God's grace. You know, grace is nothing more than the love of God, the unconditional, unmerited, unearned love of God. To communicate that is one of the greatest privileges anyone can enjoy.